All right, good morning. Recon Jeeper here over at Cooter's Garage. Been a while since I've been down here. One of our club members, Dave, has a fabulous JL, and you can see this thing is no joke. It's got King coilovers, Evo suspension. Oh, everywhere you look on this thing, there's incredible parts, but he's making it better. So he's got, you can see that the transfer case has already been removed. He's got an Atlas. There'll be an adapter going on there, an Atlas transfer case. That's part one. Part two is he's also going with a hydraulic assist PSC system on here. And I'll go over and show you some of the parts, but I just thought that this is such a great Jeep with some incredible off-road, high-end off-road parts that since it was up on the lift, take a look at this thing. Obviously with the Ram Assist, this will be going, a lot of this will be changed around, but just take a peek and wait till I show you the new tie rod and drag link that he's purchased. Wow, mine on my Jeep is an RPM, and I think, what's the name of that brand again? Apex? Apex, yeah, he bought Apex tie rod and drag link. I think they're actually a little bit bigger than the RPM, but just taking a few moments to just give you a once over here on Dave's Jeep. Look at this. Dave wheels hard. His Jeep is very capable, and it's about to get even better. So pretty excited for him. It's going to be fun. As I'm here, I mean, I'll be in and out as this job progresses, helping Cooter out when I'm able. I'll chronicle what I can. And then if anything big happens and I'm not here, Cooter will usually do a video, a few videos, and send it to me, and we'll get them up on the channel. So start of another great project. Let's just take a look about what Dave has here, okay? Look at the size of this steering box. Steering pump, bracket for the pump, reservoir, new arm, cooler, lines down to the ram, this clamp for the tie rod. Couple different bracket arrangements that Mike will end up deciding which set he's going to use, and those will get welded on the axle tube. New belt, of course. There's Cooter right there.
Hey, good morning, America. How are you? Looking at this pile of wonderful shiny here.
Hardware.
Man, that's a lot of money sitting right here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's on a pallet ready to go in your truck.
Here it is.
Yeah. A lot of work here.
So all of this stuff here that you see is basically steering. We set up all the parts. PSC does a nice job. A lot of the bags are marked with what you have. Cooler master kit. So just making sure that we have everything, getting familiar with what we have.
Yeah, I haven't read any of the PSC directions yet because we've been focusing on the Atlas, but I'm assuming this is a mounting bracket for this oil cooler. Something like that. I'm only guessing. I don't know yet, but we'll find out. Did you talk about the Steer Smarts part?
No, I didn't. Yep.
So he's got
the sector shaft brace on his JL right now.
Yeah.
On his stock box. So obviously he's upgrading to the PSC big bore. So you're dealing with a much bigger sector shaft, and he wants to continue to use that track bar brace. So he's got a
so they did not send a new snap ring. So we got to make sure we
use that ring. Yeah, there's no ring in there.
Right. So this here, and you guys will see this when we take it apart, but this nut becomes the new, and the reason they have a different one, and I should make sure it fits.
Yep,
because
let's make sure.
The thread and the spline on the big bore box are dramatically larger than the factory JK box, and we'll do a side-by-side comparison when we get this apart. So this nut hopefully fits this box. Yep.
Yes, it does. Okay.
So when this goes together, obviously I'm not paying attention to clocking or whatever, but you'll put the pitman arm on with, and I got to double check, I think you're going to use this lock washer and this nut. I got to make sure of that.
Right.
We'll verify that. And then the sector shaft brace, the bearing, fits over this machined part of the outside that goes to the reinforcement bracket that Rick can show you on the frame.
I'll go show you that right now.
The difference is this is the same on the outside to fit the bearing,
but
the difference is the thread on the inside
because of the difference of the sector shaft.
And I'm sure, I mean, obviously you just have to match it up with a nut size and torque it to whatever they
I'll show you that right now. There it is right there. There's a look at the stock box on the JL. Pitman arm, all of that will be coming out. And then what Mike just showed you, the new arm will be attaching there, and that nut he just showed you will go on there. But it looks like we do need to salvage that clip right there, so we'll be taking that off. And we're going to talk about the Atlas transfer case now. Here's a look at some of the hardware. You can see he has a brand new taser, of course. These are the shifter cables right here. These are the levers. They're pretty nice. It's like a hard plastic, and then it gives you the 3D decals to go on there. You can change these out to aluminum. Obviously, they'd be attaching to these shifter arms right here. We have some electrical components that will plug in, make sure it tells you that you're in 4 low and so forth. This comes with the Atlas transfer case to make sure that everything talks to the computer of the JL. Now we'll go over and look at the actual transfer. Okay, here's the stock. This is not a Rubicon transfer case, and I'll let Cooter take over, but he'll tell you some of the major differences in just looking at the build quality and the heavy dutiness of this assembly. It's a 2-speed Atlas.
These are nice. This is the newest generation. The Atlas I have in my Jeep, I forget the serial number, but it's like 00110. Yeah. And this is beautiful. This is just a side-by-side comparison. This is the adapter that makes the Atlas. So this case looks the same pretty much no matter what you put it in. And these are all configurable with different input and output shafts, and they're very easy to work on. All gear construction. So it's a gear, and there's an idler gear in the middle that rides on this shaft. So you've got a 3-gear gear train. It's all serviceable through this oil pan on the bottom. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't pulled one of these new ones apart. I could be wrong. Somebody will comment and correct if I'm wrong. These new cases now are left and right configurable. So what I mean by that is this is a driver's side drop. If you, for some reason, change your front axle and now you want it to be a passenger side drop, you can literally take all the guts out of this case, spin the case around, put all the guts back in, and have your output on this side. Which means one case. The old Atlas, like the one I have, there's 2 different cases, a left and a right, but it all has to do with how they machine and put the holes in the faces of it.
And no chain in here. This is just all gears. So you get rid of that. You get rid of that weak link. These are the shifters, right?
Shift rails right here. So there's a shift fork for the front output that engages low or high or neutral, and there's a shift fork for the rear output. Same thing, low, neutral, high. They are interlocked. In the back here, there's a set of pills that move back. And when I say pills, it really looks like a large, like big aspirin that floats between the rails. So you can't put one in low and one in high. The other thing you can't do with an Atlas is you can't put the front in high range only. So you cannot drive down the road in front-wheel drive high range. The way they did the rails, and I assume it has something to do with oiling, they don't want you going 70 miles an hour with the rear and neutral. That's locked out, and that's just the way they cut the rails. but no big deal. Nobody does that anyway. But you can do front wheel low, rear wheel high. So the shifters, you talked about the shifters.
Yeah, I
already.
showed them. Yep, yep.
So that's the next phase of this installation is we're going to take the center console out and start to get the cable shifters in because they kind of wrap around the top of this. Then after the cable shifters are in, then this adapter will go on to the back of the transmission, and I can show you that if you want to. So basically, and I was going to do a length comparison of that to this, but when he ordered this, he said he wanted to use the drive shafts he had.
Right.
And supposedly this is made, well, you know what, we can do it right now.
He's running aftermarket front and rear drive shafts.
Let's put this sucker on here. And let's see how close they are. So if we'll just kind of ballpark this.
Yeah.
We'll get pretty close.
Yeah.
So we'll go to the end of the spline to the face. We're looking at 15 3/4 roughly. If we go this way, we're 17.5. So now that's not to say that there's not some
Length for the
difference with the yoke.
with the yoke, correct.
So we're going to see now the yoke that's going to fit on this should be a lot shorter. There may still be some drive shaft difference.
This yoke is being changed out because it came with a yoke that looks to be for a stock drive shaft.
Yeah, this is the yoke that came off of his factory case. He had changed this to this companion flange style, very popular 4 1/4 bolt circle round mating flange. This is, correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, this is like a stock.
Yeah, it looks like the stock one.
What is that, Rosetta joint?
Rosetta
with
joint,
all the little
yep.
tiny bolts. This
Correct.
is what they shipped with the Atlas. Atlas did make some changes. There is a relief in here now for more support rather than just supporting on the spline. So I just read up last night. There is some differences in how the yokes work. But Atlas is shipping the correct yoke, which will match this pattern and fit that case. This fits. It does actually fit. So it is a 32 spline. Trust me, it fits. I had it on there.
Yeah.
So they're going to send this. The problem is I just mic'd it up. The sealing surface is about 1/8 of an inch difference. So this is smaller. This wouldn't seal with that seal.
Right.
So we'll wait for the
Yep.
right one to get here. It's just that won't keep us from putting this in.
All right. Just want to preface this that Dave, unfortunately, there is the issue, one of the issues that he had that got him to this was he was convinced that he had a bad transfer case. So he made the ultimate upgrade, which is great. But as we're finding, there are codes on the transmission now. So we're in the early phases of reading some various electronic transmission codes that are popping up on Dave's Wrangler. And we're also consulting with our transmission specialist, Tony, who rebuilt the transmission on Recon 1. So just anything else you want to add to that, Mike?
No, that's, we pulled this off yesterday. And Cooter Jr. called me over. He goes, Dad, there's nothing wrong with this transfer case. It shifts into all the gears beautifully. It turns perfectly fine. If anybody's in need of a factory JL transfer case from a Sport with a 272 low range.
Sport transfer case, correct.
We're commenting, I guess,
Yep.
because this one will be up for sale.
Yes, it will.
There's nothing wrong with it. Less than 50,000 miles on it. With all the factory shifter and all that stuff, I assume. But either way, regardless of whether the transmission's coming out, this is going in. I'm still thinking it's some kind of electronics issue. But we're going to try to dive into that a little deeper now.
Terrific.
So
All right, brother.
that's it. Here, it might be worth showing. I don't know if anybody wants to see how this adapter fits. But
Oh, yeah, on the back of the transmission.
so what they do in these things is there's a spud shaft in here. So you can see a female shaft. And it's supported by, it feels like 2 bearings. 2 sealed roller bearings. So this is how advanced connects their standard, I say standard, but their Atlas to multiple different transmissions. So this is the one for the JL and the JTs, which are the first ones to use the new non-round Spicer bolt pattern. So this transmission, the back of it is sealed. So when we took this out, there's no fluid loss.
That's nice.
There's a big oil seal right there. So this will simply go up on here. And for anybody who's taken one of these out, you know what a pain in the aspen tree it is to get to that bolt right there with the oil cooler assembly here. And if you look on the other one over there, there's a piece of aluminum that comes like this. So it's actually down in a little well. This will be much easier.
Oh, yeah. What a perfect fit.
To install.
Nice machining. Outstanding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So actually,
your adapter.
we can leave that right on.
Yep.
No need to take it off.
Yep.
It goes on with
throw
factory.
a couple bolts on there, yep.
So I'm just going to throw these on so it doesn't fall off. And yeah, that was ready to go on anyway, so we'll just leave it. I'm going to grab it over here. The factory, again, this is my first time doing one of these in a JL, but it appears the factory cross-member mount will bolt right to the bottom of their adapter.
It does. It lines up perfectly. And then the tranny cross member will...
Sits right in there.
Wow, yeah.
They do tell you to be sure you get these top bolts before you jack this up into position and put the cross member in, because these upper ones I think we can get to these. They're hard to get off with the factory case. But
wow, just well built.
Yeah.
Perfect setup for the JL Wrangler so far. Nice. Okay, the adapter's installed. Easy peasy, 7 bolts all the way around. When you get up towards the top, there's 2 holes, one on top of one another. Obviously, you want the bottom hole. That goes into the housing on the tail end of the transmission. So the next thing we're going to be doing is putting the little adapter right here that mounts onto with the little rubber grommets to the tranny cross member. The cross member mounting shock bracket assembly fits beautifully. 16 millimeter head bolts, 4 of them tied in. And now Mike wants to talk a little bit about this JL shifter bracketry.
yeah, so I didn't see a lot on Advance's site, and all it said was remove the factory shifter stuff. So I'm going to pull this down. So I know there's some stuff on there about how to undo this cable. We'll hit it real quick. This cable has a little, this one's a little stuff, spring lock collar.
Yeah.
Kind of like an air fitting.
Yeah.
I'll put this down so maybe people can see it. But
see
I
that
don't know if you
open
can
right up.
see those
Yep.
fingers move in.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you pull that back, that allows you to take this out of the bracket.
Right.
This cable comes down from the floor. This bell crank bracket went up on here, and this was what threw me too, because they tell you in the directions to get rid of all the factory bracketry. Well, the cable went in here. It would turn this bell crank. This would go to the lever on the side of the transmission. So I said, all right, took this out. These bolts, it bolts through this oil cooler assembly right
See
here.
it right there. I can zoom in right on there. Yep.
So with an automatic transmission, this has an oil cooler cooled by engine coolant. It goes through this first, and then it runs up to, I assume, the transmission or another cooler up in front. But the bolts were way too long, because these bolts went through here and then into the oil cooler. This was up in here like this. So when I took it out, obviously the bolts were too long. So I ended up cutting off about a 1/2 inch, or roughly the thickness of this bracket, off these 2 bolts so that this oil cooler can get rebolted to the side of the transmission. Advance doesn't cover that. They don't tell you that. And I did not see any new, shorter supplied bolts with the kit. I'll throw a correction in there later if I do find them, but their directions are, if I only have one issue or one complaint with Advance, is their directions are a little light. in the guidance department. You have to really look around for them. You have to look up, like the part number for the adapter gives you some information. The part number for the shifters gives you some information, but you end up looking in multiple spots to get all the install instructions for your application. So don't think that you're gonna buy this kit under one part number and get everything for a JL and have one wonderful sheet of directions to work from. You're gonna have to hunt around a little bit. Not the end of the world, but it's just a thing. But their products are top quality. So then again, if I do end up finding these bolts somewhere in the kit, we'll know what they go to, and you know, I'll post a comment or something. But as of right now, just take those and cut off about a 1/2 inch of them. And I'm gonna tighten those up. We're gonna put the cross member back in and just set this down on there, because we've got to go up inside and do some work to finish. Before we get to putting the transfer case in, we have to get the twin stick shifter, cable shifters in next. So that's where we're at.